The youngest daughter broke the tension. Knowing she could no longer pretend to be asleep, the director also pretended to just wake up. The eldest daughter also told her mother that her meal card was out of money. Actually, the director didn't care about the money, but that she knew that the relationship between herself and her eldest daughter had improved at this moment. The next day, everyone went to work, but something unfortunate happened. On the wall of the hair salon, the phrase, "A high school bully works here," was written in red paint. The director immediately called the police to find the culprit. However, when the police wanted to take statements from the people working in the shop, Muyo came forward and said that they only needed to take his statement. After that, he followed the police downstairs, making everyone in the shop extremely embarrassed. When the police took Muyul to a break room to take his statement, the director learned about the situation from Muyul's mother. Then, she told everyone the story. It turned out, when he was in school, Muyul was a member of the school's soccer team. To improve the skills of new players, it was common for older players to discipline younger players. However, a student who had just returned from abroad didn't understand the culture, and he thought the older players were intentionally bullying them. Afterwards, he reported the incident, which was widely covered in the news. The school was under pressure and disbanded the team, and Muyul was expelled from school and permanently removed from the roles, losing his chance to join the national youth soccer team. Muyul decided to quit his job. Seeing that no one intended to ask him to stay, Muyul sadly left. He also coldly broke up with Kpop and turned and walked away without looking back. Faced with such an irresponsible man, Kpop was heartbroken to the core. In truth, Muyul didn't want to hurt Kpop either, but he was truly left with no choice, because his past had left a deep scar on his life. Ultimately, Muyul left, leaving Kpop alone and lost. She returned home to her mother for comfort. Muyul was in despair, while Muyul was frustrated, asking his mother if they should move away. He felt he had not only made his mother lose faith, but he also couldn't face the people around him. However, his mother didn't think it was the end of the world. If things really didn't work out, he could come work at her hair salon. But Muyul, being stubborn, couldn't imagine working at his mother's salon. More importantly, if he hadn't been instigated by someone else, he wouldn't have wanted to bear the label of a school bully. The police had also caught a suspect, but it wasn't the student Muyul had hit back then. However, he deeply resented Muyul. He believed that Muyul was the reason their school's soccer team was disbanded, which ruined his life and caused him to be destroyed. But no one knew that he was the one who instigated Muyul to beat up that student. After leaving the police station, Muyul sought him out, but he showed no remorse. Instead, he blamed Muyul for not hitting the student hard enough, which allowed him to report it. If not, they wouldn't be in this situation. In the end, Muyul restrained himself and didn't fight him. In the following days, Muyul worked as a delivery driver. Although the job was quite easy, he no longer had his usual smile, and he felt empty inside. He had not only abandoned the hairdressing career he loved, but he had also walked away from the person he loved. Muyul didn't want to give up either of these two things, because he feared that he would regret it for the rest of his life. The hair salon still operated as usual, but everyone felt like something was missing. The next day at work, the manager announced that a new assistant was coming. Suraya was curious, wondering if it would be a man or a woman. Just then, the new assistant walked into the salon, but to everyone's surprise, it was Muyul. But how could Kpop's emotional wounds heal so easily? The joyful times they had shared were gone, replaced by repetitive work like a conveyor belt. At this time, Kpop and Muyul were like strangers. In this moment, Muyul hated himself deeply. Why couldn't he be a little more resilient? Late at night, Muyul was still scrubbing off the paint that had been thrown on the storefront window. He also decided he would face everything bravely. Muyul sent an apology message to the student. The student, after reading the message, likely felt a weight lifted from his heart. Meanwhile, Kpop could only silently watch from afar, as he was still cleaning the window after work hours. Zen was practicing yoga, but after work, she accidentally ran into someone she never wanted to see again in her entire life. The man in front of her not only disgusted her, but also terrified her. Zen urgently wanted to leave. As soon as she pressed the elevator button, she frantically searched for her eyebrow pencil. But the more hurried she was, the more flustered she became. Seeing people from the yoga studio about to leave, she quickly ran into the stairwell. But thinking of the man she had just seen, she panicked and fell down the stairs. Ignoring the pain in her leg, Zen ran out of the yoga studio. The trauma from her childhood still haunted her. After getting her wound bandaged at the hospital, Kwang Soo drove Zen home. Facing the free-spirited Zen, who was very skilled at bashing people around, she not only had Kwang Soo pour her water, but also told him to get a pillow to prop up her leg. Facing this narcissistic woman, Kwang Soo was speechless. Just then, Zen seemed to remember something, and she quickly wrapped a scarf tightly around her neck. At this moment, Kwang Soo teased her. It's unexpected that for Zen, who loves mountain climbing and riding big motorcycles, the most dangerous sport is yoga. Perhaps Kwang Soo had hit a nerve, as Zen quickly told him to leave. Because Zen had broken her leg and needed to rest, Kwang Soo was also in charge of cooking for her. But facing Zen, who was clearly troubled, Kwang Soo didn't ask too many questions. After a week of rest, Zen also started going back to work. She thought that the accident had passed, but unexpectedly, when she accidentally saw a customer's leather shoes, it triggered her memories, and she immediately became terrified. She then ran to the break room, looked for her makeup bag, grabbed her eyebrow pencil, and started applying makeup. It turned out that the reason Zen liked wearing heavy makeup was because she believed it could create an extra layer of armor to protect herself. At the same time, Soo Rai also came to the break room to check on Zen. But in response to Soo Rai's concern, she received a cold attitude. Zen started to get defensive, and Soo Rai questioned her. Why do you need to apologize? Soo Rai was incredibly frustrated. Seeing Kangyu enter, Zen immediately left the break room. That evening, when Kwang Soo drove Zen home, she finally revealed the secret of her childhood trauma. Every time Zen came home, just seeing her uncle's leather shoes would terrify her, because her uncle was a beast. It seems fate has a penchant for playing tricks on people. In a twist of irony, the very next day, he happened to visit the hair salon and saw his niece. Zen, upon seeing him, immediately became flustered. She handed her duties over to Muyal, then rushed into the break room, opening her locker to grab her makeup bag. But having only sketched a few lines, she stopped, resolutely stepped out of the break room, and began removing her makeup while proactively cutting his hair. The moment Zen picked up the scissors, a tremor went through her heart, but within seconds, she suppressed that feeling. Seeing Zen without makeup, he remarked that he preferred her current, pure look to her previous, intense appearance. Faced with his blunt comment, Zen began to resist. She declared that she wouldn't smile, and especially wouldn't smile at him. R's subsequent action made him sense a certain edge, and beads of sweat, as large as peas, involuntarily broke out on his forehead. Luckily, Zen didn't do anything too drastic. Immediately after finishing his haircut, he hastily fled the scene. The next day, everyone eagerly waited for Zen to arrive. When she arrived at the salon, and the moment she took off her glasses, except for Kwang Soo, the other four all sighed simultaneously. Zen was confused, while Kwang Soo calmly walked up to the others, unceremoniously collecting the money they had bet. It turned out that the manager, believing that Zen had overcome her trauma yesterday, had been extremely hopeful that she wouldn't come to work with makeup today. But unexpectedly, they still saw her with heavy makeup. The woman was happily going to get her new hairstyle, but to her misfortune, right as she stepped out the door, she was met with a torrential downpour. Her freshly styled hair was as good as ruined. The manager, meanwhile, was in a gloomy mood like the weather outside, worried about the lack of customers. Heavy rain and no customers was normal. Zen suggested, since there are no customers, how about making green onion pancakes right now? A female customer visited the salon. Her somber expression made the already bleak atmosphere even more depressing. Her request was also very strange. She desired to drink the same kind of falling snow water that Snow White did after eating the poisoned apple. Having seen all kinds of customers, Zen didn't give it much thought. At the same time, everyone in the break room began to busily prepare the ingredients for the green onion pancakes. However, Soo Rai appeared uncomfortable and said she wanted to make them herself.